Another Q&A video. These are fun, mainly because I can drink. I don't have to drink, but I do drink. Today we're going to finish off the German lager that we got for the last video, which has disappeared at an alarming rate. Thank you guys so much for sending in all of your questions. I got 368 at the time of recording. Wow, that's a lot. I can't possibly answer all of them, but I really appreciate y'all sending them in. And for this Q&A video, I gave you one rule, which was that I will not answer any questions about American history that took place east of the Mississippi between December of 1860 and April of 1865. Predictably, a bunch of you asked me about the Trans-Mississippian Theater of the Civil War. So yeah, and that's what I wanted you to do. So how about a brief history on the California Column and the Civil War in Arizona and New Mexico? So for those of you who don't know, the California Column was a group of a couple thousand Union volunteers in California who basically marched west into Arizona and New Mexico. Union volunteers in California who basically marched west into Arizona and New Mexico. Marched west into Arizona and New Mexico, marched west.
Idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Into Arizona and New Mexico and just got into battles with Confederates and Apaches and stuff. Sort of the biggest event in the Trans-Mississippian Theater of the Civil War was the Battle of Glorieta Pass and the New Mexico Campaign, which was basically a Confederate effort to essentially kind of have a stronghold in the Southwest, to seize a bunch of Union forts and just effectively have control over that area of the country. This was foiled at the Battle of Glorieta Pass, which was by Civil War standards, a very, very small battle, basically just a skirmish. Now, one hesitates to call a big dust-up between 2,000 guys as unimportant or insignificant. I'm sure it was very significant to the men who actually took part in that battle. But yeah, in terms of a sort of big picture strategic thing, not really that significant. Have you heard of the video game War of Rights? I have, but I have absolutely zero desire to play it. I hope those of you who do play it shout "Checkmate Lincolnites" into the mic on the reg. Thoughts on 19th century imperialism? Many thoughts. A very complicated subject with a lot of moving parts and a lot of kind of moral ambiguity. I would rather be colonized by the British than the Belgians, I'll just say that much. New England's commercialization of Salem, bad, good, indifferent at this point in history? Good question, Matt, good question. I'm pretty indifferent to it, honestly. I don't find it offensive. It's definitely not. I mean, you go into Salem and you look at the shops and stuff and, ooh, cute witchy shop, occult, blah, that's just so far off the mark as to kind of what happened there historically and what those people believed and what kind of witchcraft even that they believed in. But hey, let the people of Salem make some money. I have no problem with them, capitalizing on their reputation to put food on the table, and I think that's just totally fine. If you could have one historical mystery solved, what would it be? Where I left my keys. All revolutions that have been recorded in modern history have resulted in terrors followed by dictatorship. Not sure all of them. Might be a bit of a generalization, but yes, that does tend to happen. Why not in the post-revolutionary United States of America? So the simple answer is that in post-revolutionary America, not much changed. The people who locally held power and influence in the colonies before the revolution, I mean, they were, still the ruling class after the revolution. And also, while, post-revolutionary America wasn't, terrors and dictatorship, it wasn't exactly stable. I mean, there was a lot of disagreements about how to structure the new government, what kind of republic we were going to be. It was not a foregone conclusion at all that violence wouldn't result from contested elections, as we started to see, obviously during the Civil War. There were growing pains. But I do think that you do have a point, in a sense, that it is definitely kind of against the historical precedent for there to be, a more or less peaceful kind of transition that occurred because of a violent revolution. Most violent revolutions throughout history accomplished none of the goals that they set out to accomplish, and just made life worse, 1,000 times worse for everybody. And I do often think about that, when I sort of sometimes hear people talking about revolution. I mean, it's fine, when Bernie Sanders says it, because it's clear, it's like, oh, political revolution, of the ballot box and of incremental policy change. It's very clear that he's, he's just trying to like make life better for people, and that he's sincere about that, and doing it through, democratic means. He has his beliefs, and but he's not gonna, start lining up people up against a wall. But I feel like there are, some people who do say kind of the revolution, in not the Bernie Sanders sense, but in, let's line some people up against the wall. And to those people I say, are you out of your fucking mind? Choose Athens or Sparta. Athens. Once a theater kid, always a theater kid. Do you believe in the possibility of Atlantis being real? No. No. So, Plato's story was like, where would you like to be in 10 years? Hollywood filmmaking, continue small indie work, see whatever YouTube is like. I think YouTube is something that you can't really do forever. I don't really see myself still doing this in 10 years, and if I do, I'll just probably be horribly irrelevant, and and it'll just be sad and pathetic. Nobody wants to see 40-year-old me doing Checkmate Lincolnites. From a contemporary point of view, does The Searcher still hold up? Has it taken on new meaning since 1956, or has the message remained the same? I think it absolutely still holds up. I think it's still a great movie, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. I really, the sort of feel like the main sort of theme and the main meaning, with the John Wayne's character overcoming his bigotry. Yeah, I think that's absolutely universal, and some of the acting is like a little dated or whatever, I hope you die, that'll be the day, it's kind of, I wouldn't blame like a 21st century 16-year-old for laughing a little bit at that, but yeah, I think it's fucking great. Eisenhower's freeway expansion. I would like to hear your take. Oh God, that is a good question. So Eisenhower freeway. I mean, I did marvel of engineering. A great and underrated American achievement. It took about as long to build the interstate system of the United States as it took to build the fucking Great Pyramid, man. Like, this is a monumental architectural feat. And it's definitely made all of our lives easier. We take for granted how easy it is to travel, how easy it is to get from point A to point B. We can all be on the expressway and complain about the traffic or whatever, construction and all that. But, you sort of imagine Eisenhower's cross-country trip when he was shortly after World War I believe. He was, a young lieutenant or something in the army, and and he got in a horseless carriage and fucking drove from like New York to San Francisco. That's a fucking short film right there, right? Young Eisenhower, going across fucking Colorado or whatever, and some cowboy sitting on his horse, just watching him go by, going, goes up to him, and, Eisenhower's truck breaks down or whatever, and cowboy, need a hand, and Eisenhower's like, oh, well, hey there, cowpoke. The cowboy says, what's your name, young feller? And Eisenhower says, Dwight. Lieutenant Dwight D. Eisenhower, and everybody in the audience goes, oh, that's him, and the score goes, and the cowboy teaches him some valuable lesson about being American. Son, you gotta stay true to yourself, and he gets back on the horse, and it ends on the fucking cowboy, going off, and young Eisenhower going, dun, 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 dun. That's my take about Eisenhower's freeway expansion. I saw you taking a dig at some of History Buff's content in some old videos. I did do that, yes. Do you genuinely not like him, or was it just to illustrate some points about how his approach to historical movies differs from how you see it? Short answer is the latter. In some of my older movie reviews, I did talk quite a bit of shit about the History Buffs YouTube channel, which I do kind of regret. There were some sort of people, public figures, so fair game, but in some of those early videos that I talk shit about some, public figures that honestly, like in retrospect, I just don't really think deserved that harsh of a critique. History Buffs definitely would be one of them. Tom Cruise, sorry Tom, I feel like I did you dirty in my review of The Mummy 2017. Yes, it's largely your fault that movie sucked so hard, but I made fun of your height and stuff, and that's just such a low blow. I do kind of regret that. What's your favorite Star Wars movie, if you like them? Obviously, The Empire Strikes Back. The prequels are irredeemably awful, and the sequels have some good characters, some good moments, but they will rightly be remembered as a shameless cash grab and a total incompetent mess. And the sooner we completely forget about them and pretend they never happened, the better. Was Napoleon a good guy? No. Was he a net positive for the world? No. 2 topic suggestions. The Devils of Loudun and why it scandalized audiences. Why no full copies exist, even for being a major picture in the 1970s. Well, I don't know about you, but I happen to have a copy of The Devils right here. And this is the DVD premiere presentation of the original UK X-rated version. So I've got it. But to be fair, the Illuminati only gives this out to YouTubers once they hit 40,000 subscribers. A man in a red cloak came to my door and handed me this DVD. Do you think we're ever getting off Earth, or will we pretty much stay here till we die out or evolve into something else? I sure as fuck hope we're getting off Earth, man. If we have any hope of getting to that Star Trek future, then yeah, we got to get off Earth. I don't think it's terribly likely that we'll be able to colonize the stars or anything like that, but Mars is there. Mars is doable. We can do Mars. With the exception of your current Sudbury Devil project, what underrepresented area in history would you like to make a film about if money was no hindrance, and why? If money was no hindrance, I would love to see a workplace comedy about the building of the Pyramid of Sneferu. Yes, Sneferu's bent pyramid, which looks so stupid. It was while they were still figuring out how to build pyramids correctly, the ancient Egyptians, and yeah, it was just an aborted attempt at building a pyramid. It looks awful, and yeah, I would love to see a sitcom where starring Riz Ahmed or somebody, where the characters basically speaking in modern day English, they have American or English accents or something, but the costumes and the sets and the weird ancient Egyptian customs would all be very meticulously accurate, but it would kind of have that sort of modern workplace comedy sort of flair to it. The main character would be the architect of the bent pyramid who keeps fucking up, and and every once in a while, the prince would come and check on the progress, and he'd be a huge douchebag, and he'd try to fuck everybody's wives and murder people for looking at him sideways. But I have a million fucking ideas like that. Just weird, expensive movie or TV ideas that are not marketable and way outside my means to make, or means that I will likely ever have. So, maybe that's also a separate video of just Atun-Shei's weird pitches. How did your video making style evolve into homoerotic history comedy video essays / skits? So I started out making YouTube videos that were pretty sort of derivative of the sort of YouTubers that I enjoyed. And essentially, the way I kind of initially looked at it was okay, well, there really isn't a Mr. Plinkett-esque video essay tearing apart the Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. So I should make that. Or, there isn't a YouTube video that really kind of breaks down why Braveheart is so good despite its problems. I should make that. And then I was sort of thinking there should be kind of a Jackson Crawford-esque sort of series about New Orleans history, and I'll just make that. And then I sort of just started sort of thinking, okay, but that's all well and good, but what is something that only I can make? You know what I mean? Like, what's something unique that I can bring to this that nobody else can? And yeah, that's through kind of trial and error and experimentation that led to, you know, Nazi sketches and Witchfinder General and Checkmate Lincolnites, you know, and just like weird, kooky, theatrical pop history. What responsibilities do you think historical interpreters and interpretation sites should generally have? I grew up in Virginia, close to Jamestown and colonial Williamsburg. It's interesting to see how the focuses of interpretations have shifted, even in the last decade or so. There's definitely been a shift towards more diversity and representation and less great man history, which personally I'm all for, I agree. But there's also arguments in what's most important to prioritize showing, what tourists should take from their experience, pure historical accuracy versus some amenities, stuff like that. Knowing you were an interpreter at Gettysburg, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Obviously, you got to teach the history, but to really kind of drive the education home, you have to make it a positive and a memorable experience for your visitors. And that's something that I try to do in my YouTube videos. It's what I try to do in my tours when I was a tour guide, is you gotta find the story in history, right? You gotta tell them a story. People respond to stories. They respond to emotional engagement. They do not, never have, and never will respond to facts and figures. If I was put in charge of like designing one of these historic sites, in training people how to give tours at a historic location, I would emphasize, like, you gotta make this a memorable experience. Like, these people should be going back to their cars being like, oh my God, that was so awesome. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how you're gonna get more public interest in important historical research. That's how you're gonna get more money from investors and from the government in order to facilitate that historical research. You gotta connect with people on an emotional level. Your recent Nazi short looked great. Did you recently upgrade your light kit? No, I did not, but I did have somebody who knew what they were doing behind the camera, which makes all the difference. Are you interested in experimental archaeology? And if so, will you cover it on this channel? I would absolutely be up for doing experimental archaeology. You know, I just personally don't have the means to kind of do it. But, you know, yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to, you know, invite me to Plymouth Plantation to live as a pilgrim for a week and, you know, bring my camera, or somebody wants to give me a big sword so I can, you know, hack at a ballistic gel torso, you know, yes, absolutely. I'm 100% down. Shoot me an email. Do you watch sports? If so, what are your favorite teams? Who dat nation, baby? Can we hope to see any more videos like your Nazi archaeology video? It was the video that made me subscribe, and I've enjoyed watching your videos ever since. I asked because I'm a big fan of Pulp Adventure, mainly thanks to the Mummy and Indiana Jones. Yeah, buddy. And the more occult aspects of the Nazis is a subject I find interesting, as do I. Yeah, I love Pulp Adventure as well. Would love to make a Pulp Adventure movie or write a Pulp Adventure book in the vein of The Mummy or Indiana Jones. I've got all sorts of ideas for it. I'd love to do, yeah, like a modern sort of take on sort of The Mummy, you know, where, but with, of course, Nazis as the bad guys. Be about neo-Nazis trying to resurrect Hitler. And the only people who can stop him are, like, you know, this like rugged sort of older like adventurer and treasure hunter who's, you know, the kind of guy who will like take a vase, a 1,000-year-old vase, and just like throw it away, you know, and it'll shatter, you know, and then his sidekick will be, you know, a woke 22-year-old archaeology graduate student who, you know, when the adventurer, you know, shoots the ropes, you know, which then open the giant door, you know, the archaeology student is like, that rope was 2,000 years old! And when the skinheads do resurrect Hitler, he's gonna be jacked. And, you know, the scene where they introduce him, you know, somebody's gonna knock on the door and say, Mein Führer, you know, and he's just gonna be doing pull-ups like, gah, gah, gah. And in the final battle, you know, you know, he'd be locked in you know, fencing duel with the young archaeologist, and, you know, ching, 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 your footwork is impeccable, mein Führer, ching, ching, ching. And then eventually he would say something like, you know, I have seen you are well schooled in the Italian, whatever, Capoferro, but if you are a true man, you would fight me hand to hand, and then, you know, it'll be revealed that Hitler is incredibly good at karate and, you know, and yeah, that'd be fucking awesome. What are your thoughts on paranormal tourism? You lived in 2 places associated with it, New Orleans and Gettysburg. Does it hurt actual history or is it a positive? I think it hurts history for the most part. Very sadly, it's kind of the only thing that's making money now, as far as relating history. You know, I mean, a lot of TV networks, they won't greenlight a show, a history show, unless it has some sort of unsolved mystery or paranormal or UFO kind of element to it. And obviously, I think that should change. And yeah, I think it's hurting. But I would never, having been there myself, having intimately knowing people who do ghost tours, I would never blame the little guy for, you know, sort of a history buff who finds themselves having to do this kind of distasteful thing just to put fucking food on the table. Guess what? We all have to fucking do that. And if you give a, you know, New Orleans tour guide or even a Gettysburg tour guide who does that, you know, you give them shit for that, then that says more about you than it does about them. Oh God. Oh my God, I just reached the end. Oh, holy shit. Oh God, I almost forgot. Justin, one of my patrons, has requested that I perform Baby Got Back in original early modern English pronunciation. So without any further ado, let's go to the theater and watch Baby Got Back in beautiful OP. I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny that when a girl walks in with an itty-bitty waist, you get sprung. Want to pull up tough, 'cause you notice that butt was stuffed, deep in the jeans she's wearing. I mucked and I can't stop staring. Oh baby, I want to get with ya and take your picture. Me own boys try to warn me, but with that butt you got makes me so horny. Oh, rumpus moth skin. You say you want to get in me bins? Well, you owes me. You owes me. 'Cause you ain't the average groupie. I seen her dancing. To hell with romancing. She's sweat. Wet. Got it going like a turbo vet. I'm tired of magazines saying flat butts are the thing. Take the average black man and ask him that.